Hello, everyone. This is one of my authors' chats of the week, and as I let this platform start kind of notifying everybody that we are out and about, I'll also be keeping an eye out for my co-host. And as always, for these particular types of live chats, we'll be talking about books, writing, publishing, and everything in between. My hair is very big today. It is hot and humid in Georgia. But this past week, I was actually shipping out some of my pre-orders for what my latest book series. They're special edition versions of my Viking fantasy, The Guardian Speaker, so that's been a lot of fun. And I've been concentrating predominantly on editing. I have multiple projects in the works at various different types of stages, and so I've been going through those to try to get them up and ready for the cycle of next year, because that's how I work. Hello.
Greetings. How you doing, Catherine?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Let me get this figured out, and then I'll there we go.
Aha.
We're
Hi.
human. There we are.
There you are. How are you?
I'm kicking like a chicken. How you doing?
Pretty good. It's been one of those weeks that has felt very long and slow, yet fast at the same time, if that makes sense.
I feel that. Oh, 100%. I mean, I had my book released this week, so it's been feeling like everything's going and then nothing's happening at the same time.
I like I said, I am with you in spirit then. I'm with you in spirit. But just so you're familiar, if anybody pops with comments or questions that are bookish related, I'll try to answer them or point them out, because if this platform is nice, I'll try to repurpose this on my BookTube channel later and put all your information down below for that. But to kick things off, why don't you talk about who you are and what you write?
I am Wes Cambron. I'm an urban fantasy author here in Central Florida. I write unhinged urban fantasy, not just your normal run-of-the-mill good guy detective story. I write about a human raised by werewolves and his stoner werewolf brother. Yep. So, first one just came out this Tuesday. Unbalanced and unprepared. Gotta show it off.
I love that. So, because you're in the midst of like your launch week, so what are some of the things did you do have anything planned special, or is it just, hey, it's out there, everybody, and just notifying people? Didn't know if you did like a launch party or a celebration of sorts.
I did do a launch party, and of course I'm still telling everybody, hey, it's out, come on, check it out, because you can't, that never stops. No. As you know, you're deep in the trenches. I think I forget what number you're on, but it never stops. I was able to host my launch party on Tuesday at Cocoa Beach, Florida, at Skull and Books VR. And it was a cool location because that is basically half books, half VR. So I kept telling everybody, come escape reality twice. You get their VR and you get my book, and literally it's right down the street from the beach. I was able to see the beach from there for a storefront.
That is really neat. I love that. And so for this particular book, you were saying it's an unhinged urban fantasy. I loved your little pitch for it. What made you decide, what attracts you to urban fantasy? Or werewolves in general? I don't know which one it is that pulled your interest first.
Werewolves always been a fascinating of mine, and urban fantasy I've always loved, even in the paranormal romance aspects. I actually was reading paranormal romance before I even picked up urban fantasy back when I was a teenager. Mm-hmm. Shirley Kenyon as one of the earliest ones, and Meredith Gentry with that's by Laurel K. Hamilton. I've been reading that since I was like 15. So that staying in our world, and mainly New Orleans, but in our world, coming out into creatures being real, I've always been drawn to that or even the TV shows, Supernatural. I grew up in that era. I was in high school when that first came out. Yes, I'm old. And, Blade, of course. I was a kid when Blade came out, so vampires always stuck to me as well.
Oh, yeah. I was going to say, I mean, there is so much fantastic urban fantasy out there, especially for people who want the mystery set in our world. And I love reading that. I love watching that. But for whatever reason, my heart and soul is that second world fantasy and fiction. Take me away as far as possible to another fantasy realm. Yet, I still love when people incorporate things like, again, the more traditional urban fantasy lore of werewolves, witches, the voodoo, the paranormal, and the vampires set that way too. So tell me a little bit about your characters and everything about your book outside of your grand pitch, but like who are your characters and what sets them off on their adventure?
So the main character follows Damien. That's this little guy right here. How handsome is he? Had someone say he looks like Rodney Ragnick from Motionless in White, and I'm like, oh no, I can't unsee it. But Damien Wolfman is the main character. I actually conceptualized him for years before I even started the work. Mm-hmm. But he was much different when I first started out, because before I became the writer I used to do film, and when I did film, I always wanted to do writing of some kind. And when I first conceptualized Damien, I wanted someone who was always with the supernatural and still be here in Florida. And when I created him first, he was a Punisher knockoff. Okay, I'm like, he's going to be in his 30s. He's going to be badass. He's going to be a grizzled veteran. Family gets killed by, unalived by the mermaids, and he's true. And he's only going to go after the supernatural creatures only if you pay him. So it's like Dean Winchester meets the Punisher. That's basically what I was going for. Mm-hmm. And then I was like, I can't come up with a name for him. And I'm like, with someone like that badass, he needed a badass name for him. Nothing ever stuck. Mm-hmm. And the years went on. I left filmmaking, and I was trying to, that's when I was like, all right, I'm going to actually take the time and write this. I was diagnosed with ADHD later in life, you could tell. So I wanted to incorporate that somehow, because I felt like ADHD was not represented in the fantasy community, or any community for that matter. So I wanted to have that. So I was like, let me put that to him. Let me strip back. Let me show you, who am I? What if I were to be dropped off in this kind of setting? It's basically how I was thinking, because I'm a big wrestling fan, and they always tell you when you're in wrestling to take your character and turn it to 11. That's who you are. You take yourself, turn to 11, boom. I'm like, okay, let me turn myself up to 11, and I'm like, all right, cool. I'm 25 again. I still think I'm 16. I'm rolling around in a 1969 Ford Mustang. Yeah, I'm cool. And that's how Damien came. And I was like, Damien Wolfman. Yeah, there we go. And I started writing that.
Okay, I like that. That is a lot of fun. And so for anybody who doesn't know or hasn't read your books, it's just out now, which is probably the majority at the moment. We'll get there. So with that said, what happens to him that kicks him off on his journey?
So he is an enforcer of the balance. He is a human raised by werewolves, so he knows about the supernatural world. And so he has one job in his life, and that's just to keep the mundane humans from interacting with the supernatural, and supernatural from eating the mundane humans. That's his one job.
Fair.
The vampires open a nightclub on International Drive, which, if you're unfamiliar with the Orlando location, that's busy. It's the busy location with the tourists, and they're making it everybody's problem, which makes it Damien's problem. Mm-hmm. And that's where we go from there. And there is a subplot of romance as well. He meets this Valkyrie who's plus size, fiercely independent, thinks he's a dweeb. So while he's trying to act like a badass to the vampires, he's also trying to be like, hey, you're cute. You want to go out with me? No, okay. And trying to woo her while trying to intimidate them at the same time.
Life's a balance.
It always is, yep. And unbalancing in some ways.
Mm-hmm. So now that you've written the book, is this going to be a standalone, or is this part of a series that you're trying to continue?
So it is a series. I already been contracted for all 4 books. It's going to be 4 books in total. So book one, Unbalanced and Unprepared, is out now, and the book two is called Unbalanced and Unemployed, and that is where Damien, not too much spoilers away, but he kind of goes to business by himself and investigates troll fighting ring underneath the bridges of Central Florida Parkway.
Uh-huh.
That comes out in November. And
Ooh.
the one I just finished up and sent to my editor is book three. I'm really excited about this one. It comes out in May. It's called Unbalanced and Uncharted, and he goes to New Orleans
I love
to
that.
deal with zombies of a certain kind.
Hmm.
And book four, I'm currently 20,000 words into it. It is called Unbalanced and Unhinged, and is the epic conclusion. And all the storylines come together. Dealings with the Fae, dealings werewolf politics, vampires might make a reappearance. The zombies definitely come back, and you learn something huge in book one, and that leads to book two. That concludes in book four.
Ooh, I like that. It sounds like you're a person that is capable of relatively rapid releasing, because if you've just released your first one, have a second one this year, a third one already relatively early in next year, and then the fourth one pretty much kind of planned out. You're going with a quickness.
You have to. It's quicker the dead, and I don't feel like dying right now. so,
Fair, fair.
um, so yeah, I have that, and then I have the spin-off series set for 2028. And I have that set up, and that's what I'm really excited for. I'm excited for all my books, of course,
Of course,
but
yeah.
that one was a more personal story that made fantastic, of course, and so I kind of incorporated a little bit of Damien and his crew into it, and so yeah, you might see some familiar faces on that series as well.
I like that. I've talked with a lot of authors recently who are doing that approach of trying to keep as many books as possible in their universe they're creating. And it doesn't matter if they're sci-fi, second world fantasy, urban fantasy, what have you. But when you do that, you definitely have that fandom that you work so hard to build is able to latch on really easily, because you're like, but it's same in the same world. You might even see the appearance of, your favorite character or two. And, people are like, oh my goodness, I love that. So that's a great approach. I wish I did that. I don't.
You can. I believe in you. I know you can. I've seen your writing. You can do it.
I could, but I always want to jump into a totally new world and reality, and here comes world building straight up again every time.
That's because you're doing the second world. If you done urban fantasy, you already have your world. Why didn't the guy stay in Orlando? If I ever want some kind of research, I look outside. Okay, that's still there. All right, cool. That's typing in. Yep.
Well, as a person who has lived in New Orleans for a better part of the decade, I'm curious to how that one's going to come out for you. Have you visited the city?
I have. I before the pandemic, I went to there. I know it's changed a lot since then. I mean, it just changes all the time.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It changes, but it stays the same. It's fascinating. Mm-hmm. But I'm very grateful for Google Maps and just staring at it. But when I was looking at some of the maps, I'm like, I don't remember that. And then again, do you ever remember really when you're going to Bourbon Street?
See, I live there, and the locals don't go down that street too much. There's only a couple times a year that there's a reason for that. Outside of that, that's tourist central.
Exactly. It's the same thing with us and I Drive. You only go there unless you really need to.
That's fair. I feel like every major city has that kind of area, that big draw, and it's just like, you know what, I'm going to avoid it as long as possible. But again, if you're writing urban, those are the great reference marks, because then so many people know them.
I love it. I mean, God, that's why I love urban fantasy. Another reason is because I feel like if they incorporate the city as a character, I know like Dresden does a lot for Chicago. So I'm like, I don't have to travel. I can just read and say, there I was at the Bean. Yeah. Like Night Terror is also set about Tim Wagner, one of my favorite books, is set in Chicago, and they a lot more deep dive on it. And so they make fun of the tourists hanging out at the Bean, and I'm like, cool, I get to be on the inside joke on that one.
Well, American Gods being, again, you can argue that book is urban fantasy. I remember the background of that, where the author, why am I drawing a blank? I am
Neil Gaiman.
Yeah, when he was doing research for that, he literally told his publicist, "I need to visit every location that I want to write about." And so he created this whole road trip, and then he wrote the book after because he was like, "I'm not going to write about a place unless I visit it." Oh no, it's a write off, and I'm like, brilliant.
That's amazing, and especially how he actually goes over to Iceland. I don't know if you actually read the book or if you read it a while.
Yeah.
He goes to Iceland near the end, so I'm like, did he trick his publisher to get him into Iceland as well?
Hey, it would not.
I want that. I want to do that, man. I mean, my publisher is small, so.
I do see the comment about New Orleans and Creole food. Yes, they have a lot of food culture there. That's fun kind of thing. Actually, that's a great intersect. When you write, do you utilize all five senses? Like, do you think about scenes where people eat or they smell some kind of aroma? Because I realize I will incorporate all of them, but I do heavily list to, the auditory, the sound, those kind of things. But the others, I have to always remind myself to be as tactile as possible with the senses. Have you ever thought about that? Sorry, that's a weird question.
No, it's perfectly fine. Del Taco makes quite a few appearances in this book. That's all I'm saying. Yes, my favorite is, like, there's a huge scene. I'm not going to say what happened, but somebody gets their heart broken. And the first thing another character says, looks at him and says, "You want to get some chili dogs?"
No.
So yes, food is definitely big in the series. I mean, come on, werewolves. So when it comes to me, I do want to do all five senses. So that's the whole point. Visual and audio is easiest for me because I come from screenwriting. So that's the first thing you learn is it's all about what the camera sees. So I still incorporate when I write, what is my scene? What's the camera seeing? And what is this character doing that my audience is watching first? And then as I'm writing, I'll have to remind myself, oh yeah, this smells like this. But sometimes I wait until a second draft comes around. Do I start incorporating what something smells like? Unless it's really important to the plot, or there is sometimes scent is important.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, again, when I think about writing non-human creatures, things like werewolves, it's like how would they react to the world that's different than a typical person? And that's always kind of a fun way to approach things too. Since when my first series dealt with animal shifters, so there was a lot of that I was doing. It was like, if I'm writing about this kind of shifter that turns into this animal, what cool animal attributes can I incorporate for that character kind of thing? So
it's always fun to do that.
Oh yeah. Oh, definitely. So actually, let me backpedal all the way to the beginning. What inspired you, because this is always a good question, what inspired you to finally sit down and write a book? Because there are a lot of people who get the idea, but they never follow through. And you followed through and now published. So what was it that sparked that inspiration? I was like, I'm really going to do this.
So there is a long story, a medium story, and a short story. Which story do you want to hear?
Well, we have 45 minutes, and depending on what you want to cover.
Okay. All right. So buckle up. So the reason I write, this is like, I'm going to try to go for the medium story here because it fuses both sides. I met my hero. My hero is filmmaker Kevin Smith. Wow. And you read my books, you'll fucking realize it real quick. It's like, yeah, this guy watches Kevin Smith. If you haven't, then I highly recommend checking out Clerks. If you ever worked in a retail or customer service job, that movie is made for us. Mm-hmm. So I met him, and it took 4 days for me to meet this guy at a convention at MegaCon in 2022. I cried and fanboyed so hard and professed my love to this poor man that I forgot my own name. I was bawling my eyes out seeing this guy shaking his hands like, I love you so much, you're so cool, you mean so much to me. And of course Kevin Smith is half stoned, he's like, awesome, yes. And I'm like, I just want to tell you how much your movies mean to me, and please sign this. And it's my I have a poster of Clerks that I want him to sign. And he goes, cool, excellent. What is your name?
Uh-oh.
I had to look at my best friend who was there with me, who's never seen me cry before. And I go, what's my name? And he goes, luckily he's telling the truth. He goes, his name is Wes. And so, yeah, I have the autograph for me. And when I told him my dream is for him to direct something I wrote.
Mm-hmm.
So ever since then, I've always been wanting to write something that Kevin Smith would direct. So immediately, I went into filmmaking, screenwriting. I shot and directed 3 short films.
Wow.
I wrote 6 different screenplays within the span of like 2 years, and then I took my two of my best films I took, and I sent it to his film festival. It both got rejected. Both films got rejected, and fun fact, I got fired from my high-paying day job on the same week. September of 2023, I was broken. Like it was the best paying job I ever had. I was kind of having fun in a way. It was allowing me to work with my films. My films got busted. I was devastated, and I remember I was in the parking lot for an interview because I bounced back pretty quick. I was in an interview the following week, and I was in the parking lot, and I get a text message from the guy who edited the films because he edited both films for me. Yeah. And he goes, man, don't ever give up, man. You're a great writer. You're a great writer. I'm thinking, yeah, I'm a fucking terrible screenwriter. And I was like, no, what I should do is actually continue writing. So October of 23, a couple weeks after, decompressing, I conceptualized Damien and conceptualized Dave, his stoner werewolf brother. At the time, he was just a werewolf roommate. And I'm like, oh, let's make him brothers. He was raised by a werewolf. There we go. Yeah. And I started conceptualizing this idea. I'm like, what is the story? What is these two morons doing? And I'm like, vampires. We gotta keep it basic first, man. Don't build a whole world that nobody knows yet. Vampires open a nightclub, International Drive. I could see that happening. I mean, come on, man. How many things fail on International Drive? Okay. So I started writing that. And of course, it read like a script the first time, which is funny.
Yep, yes.
And all my first drafts do. All my first drafts still almost very similar to a script. And by February 24, I was finished. So in those 6 months, I dedicated myself to learning the craft. I started reading a lot more books because when you're a screenwriter, the first thing they tell you is watch movies. Watch movies. Don't read the scripts. Watch the movies. And that's what I did. I'm like, I took that concept. I started diving into the genre. M.D. Macy, Jim Butcher, Patrice Briggs, diving into them. All the indie guys I find here on the app. I love them all, and I learned so much. Alex Nader, huge guy. I don't know if he's huge, but to me, he's huge. I love him. He did was nice enough to do a cover blurb for my book.
Wow.
And I fell in love with his writing. So I took that and I made what Damien turned into. And I'm like, I want to continue it. And then I was set on going indie when, because huge wrestling fan. My birthday is in May. And during May, the wrestling promotion AEW does Double or Nothing, their big pay-per-view. And I was watching the pay-per-view because I'm a fan. And my favorite wrestler, MJF, says, bet on yourself. Looks right at the camera and he says that and he shows the tattoo of AEW that he did. It's all kayfabe, but still, I'm like, he's telling me to bet on myself?
Yeah. Okay.
And then as soon as I, put that in fruition, I'm going to do this all on my own. I get an offer from this small press that was, they're called Rowan Prose Publishing. I love them. I love what they do. I love what they stand for. They're like, hey, yeah, we want to offer you a contract, and you can. You're a former screenwriter. You can keep your subsidiary rights. Keep your film rights. I'm like, and you're going to publish it? Like, yeah. Just whenever you're ready, man. Just look over the contract. We'd love to have you. And I looked deep dive into them, of course. And rowan is the type of trees that druids usually do. My favorite book, Junkyard Druid. I'm like, it's all coming together. Betting on
You see the
yourself doesn't
signs, reading the signs.
Yep, I'm like, betting on yourself doesn't mean you have to do it alone.
No.
And I'm like, this is my AEW. I'm gonna be their MJF. Fuck yeah, let's do it. And here we are, 2 years later, and Damien is coming to fruition.
That is fantastic. I love that. So actually, I have now a couple questions. One is, coming with the screenwriting background, how hard or easy was it to teach yourself to transition into more of a novel writing style? Because screenwriting is very, very different than writing novels. And that's different than short stories, and they were different than flash fiction. So how hard or easy was that?
When I started reading more, it became better. Like I said, the first thing I tell you in movies, if you're a screenwriter, watch the movies.
Yes.
Something I always tell any author, no matter what your level, read your genre. That is the number one advice I've received, and it's always one advice I give is to read your genre. So the more I read, the more I'm like, okay, this is how you do it. This is where you're wanting to do it. How to separate the dialogue and what the dialogue tags are. That's how I trained myself. And like I said, I was the first draft read like a script. And in fact, I gave it to one of my friends to beta read because, when you don't know anything, you're like, give it to your friends. And they're like, oh, this is an awesome script. I'm like, it's not supposed to be. So that's not good. So the more I read, the more I was like, okay, cool. So I was able to transition from screenwriter to novelist by strictly reading and then just keep on doing. There was a lot of editing on my part. And then, yeah. Got enough to where it got some attention.
Well, now I want to know, because you have a second one about to be out later on this year, and a third one kind of slotted for the spring. Has it gotten quicker and easier to the whole editing process for you, or is it still about the same from start to finish just because you like to approach it very similar ways?
It's kind of easier with editing now. I self-edit. I don't ever edit as I go.
Yes.
I wait until I tell myself the whole story before I go back. Book 2 had a lot of different plot holes, a lot of inconsistencies, until I went back and redid it before my editor ever looked at it.
Yep.
So I made sure that they before it's consistent, and after doing that, and after working with my editor Shakira Blakely. I learned a lot, and I take those tools on for the next one. So I feel that the only reason I haven't finished book 4 yet is because I've been promoting book 1. And that's where my main focus has been. But I've been noticing the vast changes on what I've been doing for book 4 versus book 1.
Yeah, because I'm always curious about that, because especially if you're working on your first book or first series, you're still learning how you function as an author and the system, and the idea is hopefully you get better and smoother and more proficient as you go forward. But it's always just interesting to hear everybody's personal stories and what they feel, how everything is going, because the way I used to write and edit my first book is very different than what I'm doing right now for the one I'm working on right now.
Progress. It's all about making progress, and that's why I love how we can learn how to become better writers. That's the only way to become a better writer is by writing. That's the only way to do it, and I just love it. Like my quickest turnaround. I don't know if this might be a question you have later, but I'll answer it anyways. My quickest turnaround I ever done was the spinoff for this book. I wrote that in 3 months, and it has honestly, I did not have to do much editing. There is a huge thing to the plot with smell. That's the only thing I went back to add before I sent it over to the editor.
Nice. I love that. Yeah, it is kind of one of those things. Reading through and your editing process varies depending on the type of writer you are. If you pants, if you plan, if you're something in between, those also all vary. And it is kind of interesting because there is the big difference between those people who edit as they go and those who wait till more or less the end before they go through. And I'm kind of like a little bit like you, Wes, where I'll write chapter by chapter, and of course I'll read through the chapter after I wrote it, but then I don't go back until after I'm done. Once I'm done, I'll read through it one more time, then I put it to bed essentially for a few months. Because I'm always working on other projects that kind of rotate, so it's not like I'm stopped. I'm always doing something else with a different book or series.
And there's nothing wrong with that. It's better busy than bored.
Yeah, and then coming back with it with fresh eyes does help, because when you're writing and you're going through the plot, like right here, and everything seems right, and then when you put it back after a little bit, you're like, there's... Didn't see that the first time.
It's amazing when you do that. Like I said, it was... I signed this in 24, and I didn't look at it until we did edits this year.
Yeah.
And so that is 3 books, because a total I've written. I'm like 3 books and 2 years ago, and I'm looking at I'm like, I actually wrote a good book. Back then it was actually good.
That's so much fun. Hey, that's always that wonderful thing. And here's the thing, even some of the worst ideas could be good books. It just means you need a lot of time and dedication to work them to make them the way they need to be. Other people, especially, and again, it's part of that getting used to your craft and all that kind of stuff, and learning the right, a good book, however you term that. Some of that can come very easily or quickly to some people. So the trick is, don't compare yourself to someone else. Just challenge yourself to be better.
The comparison is the thief of joy.
It is.
Like some of my publishing siblings, they've already, when they released their book, it's Amazon bestsellers right there, right out of the gate. Me, I'm still in the thousands. I'm not mad. I'm not upset. I made it to where I need to be, and there's no reason for me to be like, Ricky Goodwin is number 1 in her genre. Well, fuck yeah! If you read Ricky Goodwin, she's amazing.
Yeah. And there's a lot to it of, there's so much to it to figure out those kind of things. So, like you said, we should, my philosophy is always support your fellow authors, because we all want to support each other. There are a couple bad eggs periodically, but in general, the writing community is so supportive. And because of that, if you ever have a problem, you're like, hey, I need a boost or something, you have a author friend or a writer or, a super fan, someone out there to be like, I got you.
Exactly. We're all, it's a community, not competition.
It is.
I consider all of them, like, the reason I call them my publisher siblings, because we're all family. In fact, I call, thank you for the roses. I call Ricky Goodwin my literary best friend, because I talk to her every damn day.
I love that. And I do see that. Teamwork is key. That is 100%.
100%, yes.
But let me actually ask, since you did have, and you showed up the cover of your book, which is great. I love when people do that. How much control, quote unquote, did you as an author have over what the design of your book cover worked with, because you're working with a small press? Because everybody's situation is different. So I'm just curious how yours went.
So I do have a lot to say. I just didn't know it. And that's the thing. You always, no matter where you are in life, you always want a voice for yourself. Yeah. I just accepted what I had. I added maybe a few things in my covers. You probably can't see it too well, but the baseball bat, that is the number one thing I wanted, because he uses a baseball bat. Wolf Marks was my main one because it's a werewolf thing. Those were the 2 things. I was like, those are the only things I care about. Do whatever else you want. And then when book 2 and 3 and 4, their cover started, I had a lot more creative input. I'm like, hey, no, I want this. Book 3 set in New Orleans, so instead of having a backdrop being Orlando like it always is, I needed to be on Bourbon Street. And they're like, all right, cool. And so they're very everything on there. There is one thing I do want to bring up, and I rib my Punisher on. I rib my Punisher. Wow, I rib my publisher about it all the okay. Especially when he's down here. So if you see it, it is portals around him, a portal magic, as you see.
Oh, okay.
Damien hates portal magic, like legitimately. In book 2, it says I hate portal magic with a passion. He says it multiple times. He hints it in book 1, but he flat out says it in book 2. I said it because I'm like, I'm urban fantasy. I'm, no shade to you guys. I'm not second world. I'm here in this one. There's no need for a portal. They're doing a portal for every single cover. And I'm looking at it, and I said to Kelly Moran, who is the owner of her own prose, who's also a fantastic author in her own right, I'm like, did you do this because of Dresden? Because Jim Butcher, the author of Dresden Files, hates that Dresden has a hat in every cover. Because when you read the Dresden Files, Harry does not wear a hat.
Yeah.
And he's like, I hate this hat. And the artist keeps adding a hat. Damien, by extension, Damien hates portals. They gave him a portal in every single one. So I thought that was a fantastic little joke, and I loved keeping it. I was heavily involved more in spin-off series, what the covers look like for that, because I have a certain vision I have, and it's one of their best works they've done. And Callie's on record to say that.
That's great. And I do see some comments popping up there. Book Dragon said, I struggle with structure. I spend more time overanalyzing than just writing. And that is something I know a lot of, especially newer writers, deal with, is that they're hyper fixating on stuff early on and not allowing themselves to write the story. It's almost like that whole editing as you go kind of thing. It works for some people, but a lot, it catches them up. And sometimes you just need to write and then come back and then tweak. But everybody's
just write it. Just right. That's what I always tell. I'll tell you, Bearded Book Dragon, which a fantastic name, by the way. Just do a vomit draft. Just throw the words on the page. It don't matter if it makes sense. You can edit a bad sentence. You cannot edit a blank page. So throw in whatever you have on there. Don't analyze it. Stephen King says he doesn't know what his books is about. He's like, I ask a question and I go to answer it. I'm like, that's fantastic for you. You have all day to do it. Some of us have jobs. I gotta know what I'm doing, not probably what Bearded Book Dragon does too. They probably have a day job and they're writing afterwards. And I bless you for doing it. But just throw the words on the page and eventually you will get to it. It don't matter if you could analyze when you edit.
Yes. Yeah. And sometimes you might even just challenge yourself to do that, even though you may scrap that, as you said, vomiting on the page kind of thing. But if it forces you to finish your little arc, even though it could be terrible, at least you did it one time. If you can do it once, you can do it again. And you can challenge yourself to do it better the next time. So it all depends on how you want to do that. But yeah, I see the mention about outlining and then finding the plot holes. And it's one of those things you can outline a lot, but eventually you'll have to write the book.
That's funny. Snyder, that's funny. That's funny. Can't see me. So we got John Cena humor there.
So I'll read this one out. It says, I made a mistake, published a book with a camouflage cover. Now people can't see it on the shelves. Ha.
Can't see me? I love that. Bearded Dragon, that's okay. If there's plot holes, there's plot holes. Again, that's what book 2 is. Drafts 2 is. And if you think
beta readers, lots of beta readers.
Beta readers help too. ARC readers, critique partners. Here's another thing: Infinite Jest is an actual book. If that became a book, you're okay. Have you ever read Infinite Jest?
No.
No, you shouldn't. It don't make sense because one page you're reading one page. Then second page rolls up and it's a different scene. You got to go find it. You got to go, stop what page you're on and go look for it like a damn treasure hunt.
No.
It's hilarious.
No. Dislike.
Yeah. Just remember, that's literary fiction. People go in college to read that.
Oh, no. I can't. Yeah. Well, I'll have to talk with Tim later to see that one. So actually, let me ask you before I forget. Going back to actually not covers. It's not asking. It was one of those things. It was going back to one of your suggestions because you were obviously suggesting, which is I believe too, read whatever genre you're trying to write because that's a great thing. The best thing to know what readers' expectations are, the styles, and the rules, so to speak. But another thing is kind of with covers, do the same thing. Pay attention to the covers in your genre, especially the most recent ones, because that will help you when it comes to the time for you to kind of figure out decisions or suggestions on how your cover design is going to be, to know, again, reader expectations and try to figure out how to blend that with your own vision.
Covers is actually one of the reasons why I don't want Big Five. Everyone's like, "Oh, I want to work into it, get a Big Five." I have no again. Obviously, I'm Trad Pub, so I got nothing against him, but well, against traditional publishing in general. But something I noticed for those who went indie and went to Big Five, their covers are trash. Have you seen the new? This I'm going to get shade for this. I don't care. I do not like what they did to Legends of Lattes. That new cover where it's all only text. All I can think about is Don Vito. Look how they massacred my boy. Yes, because I got the original cover. I got the original Legends of Lattes.
Covers, yeah.
And now that is a cover. Now that is some banging stuff. And it's like almost anything like that. All the Big Five, they're like, we're just going to go text only. I'm like, no, we need humans. We need this.
So there's reasons for that, and part of that is trying to keep it fresh, because what attracts one person might not attract the other. So, and it's also keeping with the trends, and I get it. And they also, when you work with the Big Five and you write the popular books, they'll put more money into it, that they'll keep your covers fresher and all that stuff. So you'll see changes. What irritates me about this is, I did this recently with Mistborn. I bought a Mistborn of one cover, and I read the first book, and I was get the second one, and they just did a cover switch. Very cool covers, but they're different now. And I'm like, stylistically, and I'm like, no.
They can't go on the same shelf
match
now.
my books.
They can't go on the same shelf. Sorry.
Yes.
That makes sense.
And I see the comment, I sent your first cover to Annie Pilquin. Awesome dude. He told me I should just hire someone. Yeah, here's the thing. You have to be honest with yourself on what your weaknesses are, and this could be with editing, this could be, plotting, this could be cover design, formatting. If sometimes it's good to outsource. As long as you can find the funds to do so. I will not do my own covers. I have my own ideas for what the cover should look like, but as an artist, my other job is to paint. I will not do my own art. My covers.
That's something I learned in filmmaking as well. It takes a team, because everyone's like, "Oh, that director is visionary." No, he's not. That director sucks. I promise you. You take away the cinematographer, and you take away the first AD who actually does all the work, and the guy who and then the editor. Those are the three people that make a good filmmaking. Yeah. Right there. You can take away the damn director. I promise you. The same thing with the writer. The writer is good, but the cover ain't gonna be them. The editing ain't gonna be them. The formatting ain't gonna be them. It takes a damn village.
Yeah, it does. It definitely does, and it'll take sometimes it does take time to find that village, to create that community. But when you have it, that's fantastic, and that's one of those things is. Anytime I'm like adding, building out my community, I'm like, yes, we are one. We are going to create beautiful things together.
I love it. It's all community, not competition.
Yes. So since the hour is going to start speeding by, since we're 3/4 of the way through, it always starts, jumping fast at this point. There are a couple questions I always like to ask to make sure I fit in, especially again if I'm able to repurpose this on my booktube. I'll put a lot of your information down below. But first and foremost, outside of Book Talk, where else can people find and follow you, as in other socials, newsletter, website, that kind of thing?
WesCambron.com is my official website. I am also on the gram. I am on the Book of Faces. I am on. Where else am I on? Oh, I'm on the Threads now. I forgot I re-downloaded that app, and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm here too. And I'm in Central Florida, so if you see a bald white guy, talking about books in the Orlando area, that's probably me. You can come on and say hi. I promise you, I will say hi back.
I love that. Well, what are some, as an author, I would either recommend, if you haven't done this, but I almost am assuming you've done this. What are some of the events in the Orlando area that you like to go to that are bookish related?
they have so many pop-ups that it's hard to keep track of. Oviedo Mall tomorrow has a summer loving event where it's going to be all romance, which is sweet. So I might go over there to get my love on because I do. Again, I started reading romance before I read reading urban fantasy.
Yeah.
I will actually be at Pages and Pen in Oviedo Mall, which will be in October. And I am going to be at Necronomicon, which is the longest running sci-fi fantasy convention in the Southeast.
Nice. That's fantastic. And where is that one also in Orlando? I recognize the name of it. I don't know where it's located.
That's going to be in Tampa. So that one will be in Tampa. But I spontaneously appear at a random Barnes and Noble. I love going to my indie shops. New Romantics is they're all romance. So I know I'll never get in as an author, but damn it, they're going to keep me as a customer. I'm so sad White Rose closed. They were a fantastic little bookshop here in Kissimmee that specialized in banned books. And yeah, there's and Sunshine. And there's like a lot of different mom and pop shops as well.
Love that. I do love that. Another question is for your book, now that it's out, and again, one more, congratulations for your launch week. Where can people get the book, and in what format or formats is it available?
It is anywhere books are sold. You can get the ebook anywhere, whether it be on the Rainforest, whether it be on the Kobo, I don't know how to not say that name, on the Apple. Anywhere that books are sold, it'll be here. Also has paperback editions, as you can see, available everywhere. I am working on trying to figure out how to do it for my website so I can send out signed copies.
Yes, that was my other question, yes.
Other than, just going to events or, seeing me randomly, I'll sign it. I'll sign my book, whether it's my book or not. I'm waiting to sign the
You want a signature? I got you.
Yes, I've been wanting to sign a Goosebumps book for years. And I am actually working, I don't know if he's still in here. If you're still in here, say hi, Haas. Voices of Haas is my narrator who's going to be voicing Damien next month.
That's awesome.
I'll be working on an audiobook with him.
I love that. Do you have any idea of when the audiobook will launch then? Because I know the process can take a long time. It just depends on people and projects and timelines.
I wanted to be done by August.
Okay.
No, and I told him this all the time because he's like, man, I'm falling behind. I said, bro, in the words of Toy Story 2, you cannot rush art, and I'm not going to ask that of you. So I just tell him, get it good, send me the can. We'll edit as we go. He's already done. He says he's finished with the first chapter. I've yet to hear it, but if it's anything like this, like the first 10 pages we did, it's gonna be almost as hilarious as the actual book itself. Because the book is designed to be funny. I mean, come on, he's trying to woo a plus-size Valkyrie while he does get certain fluids on him, but not what you're thinking.
Well, if it's a Valkyrie, I can think of a few others.
It wasn't from the Valkyrie. That's the thing.
Oh no!
Poor David.
Well, as you said, unhinged. You really.
That's just book one. I truly believe book 3 is the most unhinged one, and book 4 is literally called Unbalanced and Unhinged. So I don't know how to, because it was set in New Orleans. I had to make it wild. I don't know how I'm going to top it. I still don't, and I know the book.
I have faith in you, and sometimes it just takes you to just start working on it, and it's just like yes. Or, there's the ones you kind of have to force through, and I have to deal with that side too. We all like the books that just write themselves. They're just like, you got it. And it's just golden.
I love when that happens. When I wake up and I start typing, blackout for a phone, holy shit, that's a whole chapter? What happened? I love when that happens.
Yes. Or, I don't know if you've dealt with this yet, just because, again, my writing style is after I kind of do the first draft, I put it away while I start working on other books in different stages. But when I come back to start reading, the chapters, and I'm always nervous because I always like talking myself out of my stories. I'm like, oh, it's going to be terrible. Oh, I'm going to catch so many issues. Oh, was it, people going to, and I start reading and I'm like, I forgot I wrote that. I forgot about that. You know what? This is really good.
I love when that happens. Like I said, I didn't look at this one for a year and a half after I
Mhm.
submitted it to the publisher, and I completely forgot about it. And like I said, I'm working 3 books deep on a different story, and that's when the I started reading. I'm like, this is funny. I thought it sucked, but no, it was good. It was so funny. Welcome, Dan Fallion. Glad to have you. Thank you for the
Thank you. Thank you.
what is it, peppers? How
Peppers.
spicy! It's like he
There you go.
knows we're talking, and there is spice in the book too. So it's like he knows.
Good to know. Yeah, so I was going to say, I'm assuming based on what we've talked about that this is more for an adult audience, but I actually didn't ask, so.
I try to make it for adults. If the child, again, I read Shirley and Kenyon and Laurel K. Hamilton at 15. And then I immediately started reading Flowers in the Attic at 16. I I don't have that perception of when is a good time for the teenager to find out what happens when a mommy ogre and a daddy ogre love each other very much.
Yeah. Yeah, there's certain rules of thumb for some things, but in the end, it goes down to what does the parent say in many cases, or because everybody also has different rules about stuff like that.
There is. I mean, I personally rather. What did George Carlin say? I'd rather have watch someone make love than watch people kill each other.
I might be the opposite, actually.
Hey, I have both.
I do like that dark fantasy, and I was like, give me pain. I love that, and I'm glad
that's what makes it good.
I love that, but yeah, no, I do listen to the darker side of things, and have to challenge myself because one of the series that I'm writing, and I've been writing it for years, and is my YA series. So when I'm coming off writing an adult series, and I'm going back today, I was like, wait, let me just make sure this is age appropriate.
That is the other reason. It's like I when I was a filmmaker, one of my scripts I was trying so hard to write like PG-13. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, cool, because I know the rule. There's like certain rules that you can't break, and it'll automatically become R-rated. And all my other scripts are always R. And I'm like, all right, cool. I think I'm actually going to make it. The script is PG-13. And then at like the last 20 pages, I started going off a tirade saying F this, F that, on the other thing. So I'm like, cool, I just made myself R-rated. So it's been like that ever since. Like I'm all for YA. We all started reading YA. I got nothing against him. But I'm not that audience. My audience is millennials. My audience is people who want the unhinged.
Yeah. And yeah. And that's why the book I'm currently is my work in progress that I finished the first draft. I'm doing my quick read through before I put it to bed for a little bit. It's definitely heavy. It's a progression style high fantasy, definitely more in the D&D vibe. Like if you like that kind of stuff, you're going to get it. But I wanted to make sure that first chapter was really clear this is for adults before I got into it. So I was like, I need y'all to know this is what you're getting into, and it's going to be on the graphic side in some ways, and just let you know.
We need everybody to be real cool about a lot of things real quick.
Yes. But anywho, let me ask you, because we have a few minutes, and I'll ask this also for anybody who's still listening in. And is there any topic you wanted to cover that we haven't covered, or any question you wanted to ask that you haven't had a chance to ask? Because we do have those few minutes, and I want to make sure I pose that question so I'm not rambling away.
Is that for me, or is that for the
folks you and or the audience? So.
Oh man,
No, I throw the general one out.
I love when you throw me a question. I'm like, I don't think I have any questions. I was not prepared for this. But no, I'm drawing a blank on what I should be asking. Now I feel a little unprepared.
But yeah, no, I always just want to make sure because some people are like, wait, I really wanted to cover this or that, and just want to make sure we do that. But for me, what would be the next place someone could see you? Because you mentioned live events earlier and you named a couple, but what is your next one that someone could go and find you and see you and get a signed copy?
Necronomicon, September 25th to 27th in Tampa. I will be there. I'm going to be there all weekend. I am currently trying to find any store for a pop-up event beforehand. After having so much fun at Skull and Books VR for my launch event, I want to do something else. But you got to have those plans. You got to be prepared. You got to be planned out. But officially, right now is September.
All I can feel like is if you found that spot and get Del Taco to cater.
That would be awesome. I would love that. I think they would love having Stoner Werewolves talk about about the food.
It's again those little subtle tie-ins and everything.
Fun fact: there is actually a very important chapter that is set in Lou Gardens here in Orlando. If I could do a book event at Lou Gardens, that would be pretty cool.
I like that. And I'll toss this, I don't know, again, I mean, I've been to Tampa multiple times, but I don't know the city as well, or Orlando, the same thing. I don't know that city as well. But I know here, my area, there are a lot of, depending on what you're comfortable with, there are a lot of breweries and a lot of distilleries and stuff like that, and vineyards and stuff like that, that will host either not just book events, but like general kind of small local festivals or pop-ups and stuff. So those may also be great places to look into too.
I've been seeing a lot of boozy book fairs lately.
Yeah, exactly. They're getting very popular. So, keeping an eye out for those kind of venues too, and not just a bookstore or a bookshop. Those may open it. Plus, then when someone's thirsty, you're like, oh, you can go get something there.
Yeah, but again, if you go to a random store and you see this bald white guy who's usually hanging out in the fantasy section, and be like, "Are you Wes?" Yeah, what's up? That's exactly what my reaction is going to be. And you're like, hey, you know what? That actually happened. I was at a wrestling show. This is probably the coolest, my second coolest thing. Now that I actually had my launch. That's the coolest thing so far. But the second coolest thing that's ever happened as an author, I'm in line at one of the wrestling shows I went to earlier this year. I was in line to meet the Bullet Club, Good Brothers. They're founding members of the Bullet Club, which is my favorite faction. And I'm just like, I'm not going fanboy. Someone comes up to me and is like, are you Wes? And I'm like, yes. And they're like, dude, I follow you on TikTok. I'm like, oh, that's so cool. So I turned into author mode. It's like, hey, glad to meet you, blah, blah, blah. And immediately afterwards, I look and the Good Brothers are looking at me and they see me in my Bullet Club shirt and they're like, nice shirt. And I'm like, yeah, it is. So I immediately went from author to fanboy again, but I did cry. That was only reserved for Kevin Smith.
I love that. And yes, for Jordan Con, I understand there are a lot of people who are fanning over since Sanderson was there this year. So I can definitely get that. But there are a lot of other awesome authors there as well. So
you were there. Yeah.
Sorry, what?
You were there. You were there, right?
I mean, yes. Thank you. Yes. The funny thing is, I was supposed to be there just hanging out, and the only reason why I had a table at all was one of my other author friends that I met through this book talk. He had a table. He was like, "Do you want to just table with me?" And I was like, "Thank you." So his name is Marshall J. Moore, and he does amazing cozy fantasy. So check him out if you want to. But yes, again, build up your author community because you never know what kind of amazing, awesome abilities and things that can happen just by knowing people.
Yeah, find book bros, man. Like Charles Chapter's there. He's awesome.
Yes. And okay, perfect. Well, I think I've covered most everything that I wanted to ask. Oh, one question because we have just a couple minutes, and this one's one of my fans sometimes pops in. I was waiting to see if he did that today because he always asks the same question, so I was leaving it for him. But since he didn't do it this time, one of my go-to questions is, what is your favorite aspect of world building? Because even urban fantasy, you're building out some kind of reality in our world.
We are, and I love the history. I love what going through the history of what the building is, or for example, in I made Lake Eola, which is here in Orlando. Lake Eola is a sinkhole. I made it into a kelpie's lair. So that's
Ooh.
why you never. That's why you're not allowed to go to Lake Eola after 9 o'clock because the kelpies are out. And fun fact, you're not allowed to go into and to Lake Eola after 9 o'clock.
That's
And that
fun.
Lake Rose over in Winter Park, which is the Winter Park sinkhole, legitimately. I gave some cool history on that one as well. That's in the spinoff.
Huh, I love that. And again, it's so neat to see what people do and take, especially like your genre, urban fantasy, where you're all basing off, everybody in that genre bases their reality on our world, but how they, interpret it and what they do with it and how they change it is always just so neat. So that is so much fun.
Really is. That's why I love Mary Gentry. That was one that caught my attention the most. Is that the Fae was out and about, and they've had a deal with Thomas Jefferson. I'm like, oh, so that's where it really comes down to is when it comes to urban fantasy, is it hidden or is it exposed?
That's true. That's true. Or are you trying to hide it, but it's still kind of that 50-50.
Balance, if you will.
That
Yes.
balance. Well, Wes, thank you so much for hanging out with me this past hour. I love being able to talk with you and to celebrate, again, your book launch. And I'll reiterate one more time, new book out in the world. Please check it out. And that is so neat. And I hope it continues to excel and soar and you build your fandom and now build out your readership now that you have your book out in the world.
I know, exciting. One day, hey, I'm hoping one day I'll be someone's Kevin Smith. That is all I
That would
want.
be lovely.
I want someone to cry their eyes out or someone to meet me.
It will happen. You will be surprised. At some point, someone will be like, I read this and it inspired me. And I was just, bring you, like, again, that good feeling or 2 tears, depending on the person.
Hey, either way, man, as long as I inspire them,
Yes, get those feels.
I want to be the catalyst of the next generation.
I love that. I love that. But again, thank you for hanging out with me. And if you ever want to do one of these, especially after you've released like book 2 or 3, let me know. Plan them in advance. But I would love to have you back on and catch up with you further.
Appreciate that. I'll love it anytime you need me. Anytime you want, I'm jumping on here. You're awesome, Catherine. Thank you so much.
Okay. And thank you for everybody who's listened. But it is time for me to let out my dogs because it's that 8 o'clock hour. And I will say happy reading, everyone. Good night, everyone.